The racing previews continue to come thick and fast here at Doubles and Trebles. A big weekend for me. You know that I love the Guineas meeting, and the Saturday card is what we're going to be looking at here. I've already previewed the 2000 Guineas itself in depth. That's in the description below if you want to check that one out. There's 5 races on ITV from Newmarket on Saturday, and we're going to be looking at 4 of them here. Plenty of runners at Newmarket Saturday in general. There's 8 races there in total, and there's a minimum of 11 runners at the moment in each race, up to 23 in one of them. First up on ITV is the 2:15 6 furlong listed race for the ladies, and the market is topped by 2 Michael Dodds horses that are pretty much Newmarket specialists. Azure Blue is 2 from 2 on the Rolling Mile and 1 from 2 at the July course. Meanwhile, Gale Force Maya has Rolling Mile form figures of 4, 5, 1, 2, 1, 3, 2. Goes well fresh as well, Gale Force Maya. They can hardly be split at the top of the market at the minute, but I'm taking both of them on, and this is why. Michael Dodds has had 59 runners on the turf so far this season, and only one of those has won. One winner from 59 runners. He's actually, for the whole of 2023, including the all-weather, he's only got 2 winners from over 100 runners. So the Michael Dodds horses are clearly needing their first run. 3-year-olds have won 6 of the last 10 renewals of this race, and there's only one 3-year-old running this year. That is Queen Ollie. Not even on the screen there as you look at it. She's trained by George Bowie. She's shortest of 9-1, biggest of 12-1. I'm not saying I'm backing her or picking her, but I'm just saying that is of interest. I do like the look of Spring Feeling, who is in the bottom of the screen as you see there. Over from Ireland for Keith Condon team. 11-1 is available. This will only be her 4th start. She's clearly a late developing filly who didn't even make her debut until June last year as a 3-year-old. I thought she ran a really nice race on her last start of 2022 in August. That was a Group 3 behind a pretty decent Joseph O'Brien horse. Joseph actually had the 1-2 that day. And I thought that from an unpromising position off the pace, this Spring Fleeting made a bit of a sweeping move out down the outside of the track that day. And yeah, like I say, I thought the first 2 were decent. Spring Feeling definitely of interest, assuming that she'll be turning up and ready to go, given that she's travelling all the way from Ireland, and each way selection there for Spring Feeling. On to the 250, 23 runners, 6 furlongs, 7-1 the field. I've not even got the top of the market on this screenshot here because the ones that I'm backing wouldn't have fit on the first section, if you see what I mean. I'm a bit further down the market. 2 selections. Ground dependent. There is, I should have said at the start, there's mixed forecasts for Newmarket, let's be honest. Yeah, it's currently good to firm going into Friday. They're on about potentially watering the track, but then there's anything between 1 and 10 mil of potentially falling on Saturday during the day. So mixed forecast. So maybe keep your powder dry. Before backing this one, Chairman of the Board is in good form and certainly ready to win off a mark of 88. He's 14-1 there, 16-1 there, as you can see, in the 6th places market. A perfectly acceptable run over course and distance a couple of weeks ago, where he was 3rd. From what might have been an unfavourable track position that day, he was drawn on the far side at Newmarket, and there was that crosswind. That was on day 2 of the Craven, so not as pronounced as the crosswind and conditions on day 1, but I thought he ran perfectly well. He's one that would like a bit of rain, so I'll be only pulling the trigger on Saturday morning if firm is not in the description for Chairman of the Board. I'll make that clear in the description below as always, but he would be an each way selection if the rain comes. The definite bet, regardless of ground, is Lethal Levi. Smashed his way up through the ranks last year. He ran 9 times between April and the end of July and rose £20 in the handicap. Wins at Yarmouth and the Newmarket July course twice along the way in that sequence. Game as you like, from the front, will probably want to lead and probably will lead, hopefully. Picked up an injury on his 10th and final start at York in August last year and has been off since. Carl Burke's on record saying he thinks this is a pretty good animal and potentially a group horse in a handicap. I think he should be near favourite for this, never mind 16-1. And the Carl Burke stable is absolutely flying at the moment. So a definite selection there in Lethal Levi in the 250 at Newmarket on Saturday. The 325 is another wide open race, 17 runners over 9 furlongs. It's usually a good race, this one. It's a Sussex handicap. The last 3 years, there's only been 9, 10 and 10 runners. This year, there's 17. There's all sorts of names that you'll recognise from yesteryear that have been running in races like the Cambridgeshire or Mile handicaps, etc. This is over 9 furlongs. My old worst mate, Jimi Hendrix, is in here. He's the 11-2 favourite. Again, I've chopped the top of the market off to get my selections in, which we'll come on to. But yeah, the Hendrix, I mean, 2 weeks ago, I was on here saying, he needs an 8 to 10 runner handicap, ideally. There was 14 runners at Newbury when I was previewing that race. 4 non-runners, soft ground, down to 10 runners, which is exactly the side of field he needs. And he goes on and wins without my money on. I was not happy. He's got a £6 penalty for that, but he's only £4 higher in this. I think the weights were out for this beforehand, so he's actually £2 well in the Hendrix. This field will be too big for him, in my opinion. There's 17 runners, and the ground potentially, depending on how much rain falls, could be too quick for him. If Newmarket avoid the rain, I think Jimi Hendrix will drift. Anyway, that spring mile that Hendrix won, I put up a horse called Dawn of Liberation, who was actually a non-runner on the count of the soft ground. He goes again here. As you can see, is between 20 and 25 to 1 on screen there. The same argument remains for this Dawn of Liberation. Handicap debut for Richard Hannon, who is on record saying he'll be fit and ready to go first time out. Not all of his runners are fit and ready to go first time. He says this one will be. Hopefully he's telling the truth. This Dawn of Liberation won first time up last year. He was a bit hit and miss in 2022, let's be honest. But hopefully he's matured with age. And it looks a big price for me, but it is a very competitive race. There's plenty of questions to answer. That's why he's 20 to 1-ish. But he is a tentative selection. I'll come on to a more certain selection and the best bet of the weekend in this race in a moment. But before we do, shout out to Notre Belle Bet, who's in there at around 20 to 1. Could look a big price, that. I mean, he's got to carry a big weight, don't get me wrong. He's second highest in the handicap. He was 100 to 30 favourite for this very race last year. Yes, that was in a much smaller field. I think there was 10 runners last year. But still, he was backed. He's been out this year at Wolverhampton, a tad unlucky maybe under Oisin Murphy. And then he went to Newcastle about a month ago on the all-weather in a conditions race, not a handicap. And he was backed as if winning was absolutely inevitable. He was punted off the board. Probably one of the biggest Saturday gambles so far this year. That was Notre Belle Bet. That was over 10 furlongs, and he won, like I say, he was backed heavily, and so it proved. His first win over 10 furlongs, easy as you like. Yes, he does carry a big weight, but 20 to 1 for this Notre Belle Bet for a horse clearly in form. He quite likes the track. He's gone well there before. He might have won last year on another day. And like I say, he was well back that day and went off 100 to 30 favourite. He's 20 to 1 this year. He is higher in the handicap, yes, but might be of interest to some. He was on the reserve list, let's put it that way. But the standout bet in this race, without any question, the standout bet of the whole weekend is Dual Identity. He's in there at 12, available 11, 12 to 1, 10 to 1 if you want 6 places. Just really, I think he's a progressive horse. He's not at his ceiling yet. A winner at Sandown last July in nice fashion. Then in the next race, he was at Sandown again and he was second. Go and watch that race back last July. Dual Identity at Sandown. An agonising second at the same track from a mile back. One of the worst positions. To come from the position he came from to nearly win was quite remarkable. And to add to his case even further, this Dual Identity ran a massive race in the Cambridgeshire over course and distance last October. There was 28 runners that day. 7 went far side. Dual Identity was one of them. 21 of them came stand side. Dual Identity at the front in earlier than probably he wanted to in that smaller group on the far side, and he finished 5 lengths in front of his nearest rival in that group. A massive run. And he duly went up another £4 for that without winning. Put a line through his final run of the season at Newmarket in October. That was a smaller field, a slower pace. I think he's got plenty of scope, this Dual Identity. Strong fancy each way. Really, really do like him. The 4 o'clock is the Palace House Stakes. Usually a race I really do like, but this is the worst renewal of this race I've seen in my time. And I'll be going to Newmarket for about the 12th year running this year. It's unfortunate. I just think there's a lot of basically handicappers in this race. Twilight Calls is at the top of the market, really unreliable. But this race had an amazing record a few years ago of producing future Group 1 winners. Soul Power, Gold Dream, Profitable, Marsha, Mabs Cross all won this race before going on to Group 1 honours in the same season. But not in the last 3 years. It's not been the same. There's been smaller fields and it's not quite produced the quality of yesteryear. This Twilight Calls, as mentioned, usually goes off favourite, but doesn't always deliver. He's been beaten 5 times in a 12-start career. He's been off a long time. He ran a massive race, career best, when we last saw him in the King Stand Stakes at Royal Ascot. That was way back in June. He's coming here off a long, long layoff. This won't be his main target for the season, obviously. And I just thought it was a horrible race for me, really, to be betting in. I really couldn't pick anything out. I mean, I would be happy to take on the favourite Twilight Calls, as mentioned. He could well drift. He may well drift, but I just couldn't find anything in behind, to be honest. I think they're all pretty much exposed, and yeah, I've seen better. Well, definitely this is the worst renewal of this race I've seen. So plenty to go at with the other three races, so we don't need to force a bet in that 4 o'clock. And like I said, dual identity would be the main fancy. All 1 point each way selections as usual. The selections on Friday are out there, so you can check them out. 3 bets on Friday, all 1 point win bets. Full in-depth preview of the 2000 Guineas, going through all 14 runners in the description below, and I'll hopefully be back with the action from Sunday at Newmarket very soon. Thanks for watching. Keep your comments coming, and good luck.